Good afternoon. I'm Benji Ambrogi, former First National Head Ref and longtime First volunteer and mentor. Thank you all for being with us today, both in person and online, for this celebration of a most amazing life. In order to celebrate Woodie's life, we need to acknowledge the sadness that we all feel. Woodie's passing was sudden and unexpected to us all. It is such a great loss. Our hearts go out to Margaret, Woodie's wife and true life partner for over 50 years. Margaret and Woodie supported First as a team. I can remember so many times refereeing matches. Woodie's out there front and center, MC on the field, but Margaret was always there on the sidelines, involved as ever. Margaret made great personal and professional sacrifices to join Woodie in his work with First, and for that we are deeply grateful. I want to especially also welcome Kay and Tom Wells, Woodie's sister and brother-in-law, and as well as Catherine Calabria, Woodie's niece. Thank you for being here. As I said, we have to live into the sadness of this loss. But in this sadness, we can find comfort and strength in our First community, a community that has connected us to each other and to Woodie for all these years. When Blair called me and asked me to speak at this gathering, one of the first things he said was Woodie was spiritual but not religious. And that certainly aligns with my understanding of Woodie. I always thought of him as a spiritual person. He made that clear in the inspiring words he shared with competition audiences, and also in the more quirky, uniquely Woodie things like doing yoga poses out in the field in the morning while waiting for the festivities to start. But what exactly does it mean to be spiritual? I like this definition from social researcher Brene Brown that she shared in a sermon at the National Cathedral in Washington. That definition is the deeply held belief that we are inextricably connected by something greater than us, something rooted in love and compassion. Inextricably connected by something rooted in love and compassion. I have to believe that Woodie would have agreed with that definition. So many things that he did celebrated that connection, that inextricable link. His dedication to building the First community and his exemplary mentorship are true testaments to that inextricable connection. Just the simple act of signing his shirt. I'm sure almost everyone in this audience at some point signed that shirt. Something that I did whenever I had the chance. That was an outward and visible sign of that connection. In fact, we're here today paying homage to this great human spirit because we are all connected through the First community. One of the many things I learned from Woodie was the concept of a meaningful life. A meaningful life is focused on the connections that I was just talking about. A meaningful life is an end unto itself. It's not a path to accomplishment, fortune, prestige, or influence. Back when I was a student in Woodie's 270 contest at MIT in the mid-'80s, I thought I'd like to be like him when I grew up. Intelligent, thoughtful, warm, wise, creative, curious, joyful. But later on, I came to realize I wanted to be like Woodie because it was very obvious that he lived a most meaningful life, a life focused on community, partnership, and connection. Which brings us back to the First community, something that was so important to Woodie. He built it, he nurtured it, he fiercely protected it. He loved this community, and he loved all of you. Each of you has made a difference and played a role in Woodie's life and in the ongoing life of First. Through this First community, Woodie's amazing legacy lives on in all of us. Thank you.
After dreaming of meeting Woodie for years, I was finally able to at the Detroit Championship in 2018. I am forever grateful that I had that chance.
An inspiration to a generation. Thank you so very much, Dr. Flowers.
It's amazing how much of a ripple effect one person can have on the world.
Woodie's message was always that you were the celebrity, not him. His genuine kindness and grace will be thoroughly missed.
Dr. Flowers' legacy as a teacher and advocate for good will resonate for generations. On behalf of myself and my team, we promise to carry that legacy onward, far into the future.
Wow. I mean, that's all I can really say. Wow. He was such a positive force in life.
We were lucky enough that Dr. Flowers came by our pit to speak with us. He really inspired us to do well.
Woody's kind spirit and his passion to impress the importance of graciousness to the youth of the world is what makes his legacy so incredibly special.
Old dudes with ponytails rule.
The selfie I took with him was terrible, and he admonished me accordingly.
It is because of Dr. Flowers that my favorite and most magical moments at FRC competitions are when I can jump in and help a team in need.
As long as Woody is remembered, his presence will stay with us and live on through us.
I was so shocked at having Woody eating breakfast by my side. At that point, he was a legend to me. But after that breakfast, I realized how human and kind he was.
Dr. Woody, may your legacy endure until the end of time.
We love you, Woody.
My name is John Abley. I'm a long-term supporter of First and Woody, member of the board of directors and past chairman. My favorite memory of Woody was at the New England Regional First Championship about 10 years ago. It was at the Boston University Arena. Woody had been invited to speak, but when he was introduced, it took a while for everybody to see where he came from. He descended on a rope from a catwalk in the rafters. He was in a harness, and there was a gadget on the rope that let him down slowly. The audience loved it. He gave some inspiring remarks and then re-hooked onto the rope and ascended back up into the sky. We all know that the idea of a device the size of a drill being able to lift an adult human 100 feet up on a rope seems like a bit of a stretch. We were all waiting for it to expire partway up, but it made it. The device was actually an MIT student invention that ended up winning the Lemelson Prize. This was the essence of Woody. The metaphor of descending from space was appreciated by all, and defying gravity by going back up again was masterful. It was a celebration of physics, of theater, and invention. Woody always believed in great design and production value. You are what you celebrate and how you celebrate. Woody was and is our Yoda. He was a humble celebrity. He had a parable for almost everything. His ability to engage, to inspire, to motivate, to teach, and do it all graciously not only enabled a lot of students to accomplish much more than they thought they could, but also inspired them to become engagers, inspirers, motivators, and teachers themselves. Everybody learns, everybody teaches. That's sort of the magic of First. Another fascinating attribute of First is the flock of birds syndrome, or leaderless coordination. Everybody either knows what to do or learns from their neighbor. It's a very powerful culture. Many of Woody's parables were based on nature. He told his MIT students, and also the First students, that each one of them had to bring along 10 others. The greatest award in First is the Chairman's Award. It's not about robots. It's about having the biggest impact on your community, be it a class or a school or a town. And a frequent activity of best teams is to recruit, mentor, and support new teams. That's not a bad strategy for continuous growth, impact, and culture. You don't win in First by making the opponent lose. You win by raising the bar. That's what co-opetition is. The best keep winning, but everyone gets better. As Benji said, Woody was also spiritual, and both Margaret and Woody had visited myself and my wife, who's a pastor, and shared lots of thoughts. It's very, very inspiring because it never goes away. For many years, I believed that the first experience leads to a unique philosophy of leadership that has value for any organization, not just K-12 students. Perhaps there should be a special leadership program based on first principles for adults. Now, all of us, of course, are adults and getting some of that. I recently asked both Dean and Woody, and many others in the first community, what they thought about that concept, a first principles leadership, pun intended. Dean and Woody felt that that was definitely the case, and so did others, as evidenced by many stories we've been hearing about Woody recently. But none of them were sure how it might actually be implemented. So we decided to explore inventive options, and Woody volunteered to participate. Well, Woody, you may miss the meetings, but the legacy you've left continues to inspire and teach wisdom, not just knowledge. We will keep you informed and look forward to the creative ideas you will send us through your progeny. That's us. Thank you.
Must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye, and teach your children well. Your father's hair will slowly go by, and feed them all your dreams. 'Cause the one they picked is the one they know by. So don't ever ask them why they told you you would cry, and look at them inside and know they love you. Tender years must know the fears that your elders grew by, and so please them in your youth, please help them true, for they will die. Your parents will though your hell will slowly go by, and leave them all your dreams. The one they picked is just a goodbye. So don't ever ask them why they told you you would cry. Look at them inside and know they love you.
Hi, I'm Z Holly, and Woody has been my mentor for over 30 years, starting with the MIT 270 class.
And I'm Megan Smith. He was my undergraduate advisor in mechanical engineering at MIT, and then my thesis advisor for my master's. And then later, we just worked together on a million things. You know, Woody, he would pull you into everything. So in the beginning of FIRST, and later I served as the United States Chief Technology Officer for President Obama, and Woody was great at coaching and helping and advising. So what we wanted to talk about today is, because we were from his MIT time and then onwards, and so he was already a beloved professor for all of us from the very beginning. And you'll see a picture in a minute of him with just the grocery bags in the beginning of 270. He empowered people at the core, and he really believed in helping everybody fully contribute in the world and how we all could make that happen. And he also was amazing at getting us to all work together. In fact, Z and I hadn't met each other. We weren't contemporaries at school, but he made us meet. And so we wanted to be together on stage today to celebrate him doing that.
And through a deep partnership with his wife, Margaret, he's touched millions of other lives around the globe and over decades. And he changed the world with these universal lessons. And I'm sure that every single one of you could be up here sharing your lessons. And so what we're hoping you will do is to think about what is the one lesson that you are taking forward, and we'll give you a way to share that in a minute. But Megan and I, there's so many lessons, but Megan and I would like to share our 5 favorite ones.
Yeah. So the first one is called In Effort, There's Joy. And it's that idea of hard fun that all of us got to participate in with him, and the things that matter in the world and the things that you care about. And it's kind of an unexpected story, is one from standing outside of his office at school. I was about to go to the New England Championships for swimming, and I was talking about swimming and being prepared and all focused on that, and he said, you know, someday you'll feel that way about your work. And he was able to transpose with any student, like get into what you were into and transition you into what your career might be. And to this day, I can feel like I'm going to dive in the water when I go into meetings and other things, and I think of Woody every day.
And definitely, I could relate to that too. In those high-stake moments, I can hear Woody talking to me and telling me, get to be friends with that pit in your stomach. And in fact, a lot of people don't know, I almost didn't become a mechanical engineer because I was terrified of the 270 competition. The whole idea of having a bag of junk and stuff, a box of parts, and having to make a robot out of it, that was just completely incomprehensible at first. And I was pretty scared. But he taught me the secret, and that's lesson number 2. Just get started and play. And it wasn't until I got into the lab and started tinkering and playing and iterating that I started to really get that creative confidence. And I realized that no one person has the answer, but I can find it.
And you know, what professor puts blank paper as the handouts as you walk into class, right? We did that in the 270 and have us drawing and leading us to together create and design and see things in new ways that we hadn't seen. And as part of that, I think of this get started and iterate and tinker as sort of the theme we talked about, like his whole life, from the beginning of 270 and even earlier, then into expanding that with the first teams with Dean and everybody, into the media, all of his work across at the national stage to millions for decades, and really helping people reach their human potential. So then that leads us to the third one, which is everyone belongs. Everyone, as in no one excluded. And it was his greatest gift to just all of us just walk up and pull people in. And you can see it in the photos, he meant everyone. One of my favorite stories is from the White House Science Fair. So imagine the White House full of children of all ages with their projects, just delighted and showing off. And this one group of first robotics, the junior first Lego League, kindergarten first graders, all in their capes, and the president walks up to them. And they've made a page-turning robot. And so...
Wait a minute, that's amazing, okay?
So they've learned to help people, right? Using science and technology, not just learning reading and writing, but science and technology and expressing and inventing, right? And so the president says to them, well, how did you do this? And these little kids say, we had a brainstorming. And he says, really? Okay, and then what did you do? We built some prototypes. What if every child could do brainstorming and prototyping from kindergarten on anything with passion together with their friends in capes on something that would matter? And that's what Woody was all about, that empowerment, right? And so it's, bringing everyone along. And I would share that particular group was all girls, including many different races. And so that inclusion is what he was about.
And I think it wasn't just about how anybody can design, but it was also about design for everyone. My first startup spun out of his class, his graduate design class, where the final project was to create a technological product for the elderly. So it just went through everything. But I think that the inclusiveness came out the most in competition. And anyone who doesn't know Woody or is not familiar with FIRST would say, well, how is competition inclusive? Like there's one winner, right? But if I think back to 270, I lost in the final round, and Woody calls my mother. I was totally out of the blue. And she's like, okay, what is this about? And he called her to tell her how proud he was, not because I made it to the final round or how well I did, but because of how well I handled the loss. And so I think it taught us that you can't always win all the time, but everyone can be a gracious professional.
Really amazing lesson. The fourth one we would share has to do with design and how he taught us that design belongs everywhere. And if you had the chance to be in his office, it was the most wonderful place to be. It was full of beautifully designed spaces and toys and these wonderful wooden bookshelves with glass and everything around you. Puzzles. Yeah. And one of my favorite things in his office was this huge dictionary. And whenever we would talk about naming something, he wanted to be precise with the words. And so we would talk together about this and look at the words and what's the real definition? Should we call it that? And it really mattered, and that attention to detail was so key with him.
And not just the attention to detail, but I remember that so much too. And it was just he would say, okay, well, let's look at that together. It was a perfect example of his humility and his curiosity. He didn't know everything. He wasn't the expert. It was that humility and curiosity. And the fifth lesson that we want to share was be yourself, of course. And I'm going to quote something that he told Tech Review about his childhood. He said, I collected butterflies, I was an Eagle Scout, I played football badly, and I had a hot rod. And that's fun, not letting one thing define me. He always encouraged us to be ourselves.
So, he valued all of us. He valued everyone in the world. And so we've got some index cards for those who are here. When we go, share one of Woody's wisdom that stuck with you, that you would share with everyone if you're online, hashtag Woodie Flowers. And I guess the thing we would close with is just really focusing on the first young people and the kids at heart who are the alum. He loved you. Margaret loves you. You were like the beloved, like him. He's your beloved professor. You're his beloved students forever. And he was so deeply proud of you. And let's just continue all of that legacy in whatever your passion is and see where we might take this. So thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that made FIRST successful was Woodie Flowers. And Woody's enormous ability is communication. And if you think about FIRST and what it's doing, it's communicating. And from my personal point of view, as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that needs to be successful at FIRST is communication. I think it was our 4th or 5th year we had our finals at Disney. Dean was giving out awards for all of the actions that the various teams had done. And so when Dean finished his speech, I got up and went over and I said, Dean, I want to give an award about Woodie Flowers to Woodie Flowers because of his ability to communicate. Dean caught on to that instantly and said, do it. So I did, and that started the Woodie Flowers Award, which started out being at the bottom of the list and today is right up at the top.
Good afternoon. I'm Kyle Hughes, FRC Team 27, Team Rush, and I was the 2000 Woodie Flowers Award winner.
I'm Elizabeth Califf, TJ Squared Robotics FRC Team 88, and the 1997 Woodie Flowers Award winner. Woodie came into my physics classroom on a television screen 30 years ago on Scientific American Frontiers. Since 1997, I've been a part of our ever-growing WFA family of amazing mentors. Dr. William Murphy and his wife Beverly, and Woodie and Margaret brought us together annually as we started to form the bonds of the WFA group. Woodie and Dr. Murphy talked to us as though we were the most enlightened people in the room. We saw that respectful, thoughtful disagreement was okay. We left those meetings with vetted ideas for first and new motivation to be our best. Woodie couldn't attend our last meeting, but he had helped us form the agenda and pointed us on our way. We were eager to share our outcomes and the successes of our meeting with him and to move on into another exciting year of first. I can't get enough of listening to Woodie talk. He has such a rich background in his family, his birthplace, and his educational pedigree. He's an inventor, he blamed that on his father, and he's empathetic thanks to his mom. He always told people that he married above his station in life with Margaret, a gifted scientist in her own right, who steadfastly partnered with him on his first activities. Thank you, Margaret, for sharing him with us. It is our charge to move forward in the white light that he bathed us all in. His message is clear and strong. We need to do better. We need to be empathetic and smart. We need to study and learn the rules of nature and be responsible stewards of this knowledge. We need to make our grandmothers proud of how we have harnessed and competed with this knowledge and pass it on to our grandchildren. We're all very lucky to have had him in our lives, and I hope that in the years to come, we can say Woodie would have been proud of what we have done.
Getting to know Woodie meant that we also got to know an incredibly accomplished man who created the Woodie Flowers Award, Dr. William Murphy. In the early days of FIRST, Dr. Murphy observed that Woodie's masterful ability to communicate on key topics with students was the most important thing. As he stated in the video, all of FIRST needs to understand how important this is. When Woodie spoke, people listened. His gift was recognized through technical topics, learning, life, and balancing the challenges of FIRST. Dr. Murphy's goal to celebrate communication was recognized in the capabilities of Woodie and has led to the growth in submissions from only a few dozen to over 1,000. Students are given a chance to concisely describe excellence in communication and mentorship with Woodie as their amazing benchmark. It certainly was not just for the students, but it was for all of us. As mentors, we also gained so much from our interactions with Woodie. He communicated in a way that made everyone feel special and comfortable, like they had known him forever. Everyone wanted to be better because of Woodie, whether it was as an engineer, a teacher, or just a person. I know I am a better teacher, parent, and person because of Woodie. The Woodie Flowers Award was presented to Woodie in 1996 with all of FIRST knowing who he was and what he did, for each one of us interacted directly with him. He was on the field all the time. In essence, no explanation was needed to endorse this award. From that point on, students nominated individuals to receive the Woodie Flowers Award. To fulfill the spirit of this award, the WFA, on behalf of all of the FIRST community, presents the following nomination to the historical record of the very first Woodie Flowers Award recipient.
Woodie Flowers is known as the father of robotics education and competition by developing the 270 course at MIT. Within this popular course, he developed an engineering competition and method of competing that is the groundwork for robotics competitions. Woodie challenged his students to compete like crazy while helping each other. This ideology led to the concept of gracious professionalism. Woodie's effective communication made him an international celebrity. During the early 90s, he hosted the TV show Scientific American Frontiers. Woodie was instrumental in creating FIRST. When Dean Kamen created FIRST, he incorporated Woodie's engineering challenge and his method of competing as the foundation for FIRST. Woodie has always been a steadfast guide of the FIRST ethos. When he spoke, we listened. When he elegantly explained a difficult engineering concept, we would understand. When he spoke about controversial subjects, we would find clarity. Woodie's character, charisma, wisdom, and empathy are all qualities we admired about him and use as guiding examples. Woodie's humility and character are examples we follow. At FIRST events, Woodie was surrounded by adoring fans. Handlers escorted him through the crowds. Woodie understood the importance of his connection with students, and he would ask them to sign his shirt as he gave them his autograph. Woodie not only used his gift of communication by means of oration, but he was also a skilled photographer. He had the artistic gift of capturing an incredible image and optimized the digital and optical technology to get the best out of his subject. He and his wife Margaret traveled the world to capture incredible pictures. He used these same skills to guide us. He captured our hearts and attention through his focus on an issue and traveled to great lengths to inspire many. He combined his skills of technical knowledge and human empathy to capture our attention, admiration, and devotion. Please accept our nomination of Dr. Woodie Flowers.
Liz, it's time to laugh and enjoy life as Woodie would want us to. From the old days of Woodie dancing silly on the field to his known tuxedo and Converse sneakers, it is our honor to stand proud and celebrate Woodie.
Quickly creating a pyramid climbing, frisbee throwing robot.
Thank you.
I have such a profound appreciation for what Vanna White goes through now.
Wow! It's for a good cause. It's for a good cause. Yippee!
You'll face hurdles in your life, huh?
First district event.
That your tent.
Con los terroristas.
Harlem Shake.
Woodie Flowers had such a big impact on me. Being here in New Hampshire, I've been lucky to spend time with Woodie at local events over the years. One of my favorite memories was in 2017 at the first Tech Challenge kickoff. My team had just received a power tool. Woodie asked me how I felt receiving this gift, to which I responded, pretty cool. He went on to tell me that the real gift was not the power that the tool had, but the power that I had in learning to work with it. He called this the gift behind the gift, and I still think about that today. My name is Anna Scarponi, and I'm on the FTC team State of Mind. I've been involved in FIRST for half my life, starting in the 2nd grade. When I was younger, I never really thought of STEM subjects as something I could really be good at, but even that short interaction with Woodie completely changed my mindset going into robotics. Woodie's words gave me the confidence I needed to grow, not only in FIRST, but as a young person. Woodie always served as an example in taking risks and going out of one's comfort zone. Just this past summer, he participated in an event called Over the Edge to benefit FIRST New Hampshire, where he rappelled down one of Manchester's tallest buildings, the Brady Sullivan Tower. He described this experience as, quote, one of the most counterintuitive things he had ever done in his life. If he could do that at 75 years old, it makes me think at 14, well, what can I do? One of my most vivid memories of Woodie was when I signed his shirt at FTC State Championships. Woodie valued every student in the FIRST program. He wanted not only to teach us the things he believed in, but to connect with us, to get to know us personally. He made people feel special, seen, and understood. Woodie always had a way of making us think. He asked us questions that made us look inward. These questions had no wrong answers. He was genuinely interested in everything we had to say. Regardless of which path I choose, Woodie's messages of using humanity and intelligence to make a difference in this world will always stick with me. Whether it be working with inner city after-school programs or connecting with kids living in homeless shelters, by helping people, I've come to understand what Woodie wanted us all to know. It's not enough to keep knowledge and skills to yourself. It's best to share one's gifts with others. That's what connects us all. There are hundreds and thousands of young people who will forever be better because of Woodie's kindness, compassion, and wisdom. So, in true Woodie fashion, I'd like to close by asking each one of you this. How will we continue to better ourselves, each other, and improve our world? Thank you.
children crying, hear the children crying, give faith, praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let them all pass on the dirty remarks. There is one question I'd really love to ask. Is there a place for them hopeless sinners who have hurt all mankind to save their own belief? I hear one love, one heart. Let's get together and Let's get together to fight this holy Armageddon. So when the man comes, there will be no doom. Have pity on those who chances grow thinner. There ain't no hiding place for the Father of creation. I mean, one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Tuttle, and I am one of two co-chairs of the First Board of Directors. I've had the pleasure of knowing Woody for many decades. To begin with, Woody and I connected as what I would call business associates. We both were vitally interested in advancing First's cause, but we weren't really friends. That changed when my wife, Lynn, and Margaret became very good friends as they met each other week after week at First events. They would often escape to tour the local city during First breaks. Very soon thereafter, and not so coincidentally, Woody and I became very good friends. Thank you, Margaret. Several speakers have told you about Woody's great teaching career and his great contributions to First. One role that has not been mentioned is the role that Woody played as the chair or co-chair of the First Executive Advisory Board. For the last 13 years, Woody has led this prestigious group of First volunteers, which provide critical advice to the Board of Directors and the First Senior Management Team. In his MIT efforts and First efforts, Woody became good friends with U.S. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. Senator Hassan is sorry that she couldn't be here today, but she took the extraordinary step of introducing a tribute to Woody in the Congressional Record. This is an official record of Senate business and becomes part of Senate history. You can read the official statement on the First website. It is a glowing tribute. I'm happy to tell you that First has created the Woodie Flowers Memorial Scholarship. This is made possible with generous funding from John Abley and Dean Kamen and several other First Board members, as well as several Executive Advisory Board members and the general First community. One exceptional First participant will be chosen each year to receive a $10,000 per year grant for their undergraduate years at the college of their choice. Hopefully, Margaret will help us select that winner. These different recognitions speak volumes to how important a contribution Woody made to society and to First. Thank you to Woody and Margaret for all that they have done to advance First in our society.
Woody knew that the students are the real reason First exists.
The world became a better place when he took the stage.
Woody is gone, but not forgotten.
Dr. Woodie Flowers and FRC made me the person I am today. Gracious professionalism has changed and impacted my world in more ways than I could possibly imagine.
I carry him with me, especially his many pithy phrases, such as, "Use your wisdom filter."
Woodie Flowers skipped the myth step when he went directly from a man to a legend.
The thought of teaching young people the importance of kindness and integrity combined with the technical excellence in a career path is truly inspiring. May we live up to his ideal.
I always felt like I was meeting the nicest rock star ever.
Woody was the man.
Woodie was a modern hero in so many ways, especially as a champion for GP.
I know so many students who have been deeply affected by his influence and will carry the torch. Woody, Woody, Woody.
Dr. Woodie Flowers, you were like a rock star to us.
Thank you for putting the love, time, and care into every single person that you interacted with. Thank you for sharing your amazing stories about your travels with Margaret and the pictures you took around the world. And thank you for making me want to keep pushing forward, even when the light gets a little dim.
Anytime we, as first students, inspire someone, we are fulfilling his legacy.
Woody has inspired me and so many others in such a profound way. It is now up to all of us to continue his legacy and to be gracious professionals in everything we do.
We love you, Woody and Margaret.
Greetings. I'm Dean. I always like to go last at these things because I figure by listening to what other people say, it'll give me an idea of how to either fill in where something was left out or give me something intelligent. It's really hard today. I'll fill in a few things, hopefully to lighten it up a little. And we have a lot in common. We've both been involved with FIRST for half our life. And Megan, you forgot to tell the best part of that story at the White House. Typical engineer. They forget the stuff that doesn't work. But after the president leaned over to these little kids to watch their page turner work, after they very proudly explained it, didn't work. It malfunctioned. And the president looked down and said, "What's the matter?" And one of those little girls looked at him and said, "Well, it's only a prototype." It was great. I've used that with some of my clients. It doesn't always work. Margaret, I talked to my mom this morning. She said to give you a hug. I will do that soon. She reminded me that we lost my dad, but she lost her husband of 60 years. And she said to me, "You can't imagine what it's like." You were there at this occasion when we were trying to remember my brother a few years ago, another great volunteer that I brought into FIRST. Maybe just one more story to give context to the Woodie Flowers Award that you saw Bill Murphy talking about. And this, John, might cement the idea that we are a flock, as you point out, a leaderless flock. I be your leaderless leader. But I was at Bill Murphy's home probably nearly 40 years ago when I wasn't a lot older than the kids in FIRST, talking about a piece of technology I was making for him. And we got to talking about medical stuff. And even by then, Dr. Murphy was a very established CEO of a major medical company with great inventions, pacemakers, dialysis, you name it. And we're at the table in his home, and he mentions that his dad won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discovering both the cause and cure for pernicious anemia. His own dad at Harvard, Nobel laureate in medicine. I said, "Wow, that's amazing. I'd love to see the Nobel Prize someday." He says, "Oh, I'll show it to you. It's here in the closet." And he went to the closet and he took it out. I couldn't sleep that night thinking this country has a hall of fame of football and basketball and baseball and archery and ping pong. And there are a couple of hundred halls of fame. But where do we put the Nobel Prize? In a closet. The next morning I told Dr. Murphy, everybody thinks we have an education problem in this country. You'll never solve a problem if you misdiagnose it. I told him at the time that everybody I know knows a great teacher that changed their life. Woody is the poster child of all for that. I said to Dr. Murphy, what this country really needs is not to solve its education crisis, which it doesn't have. It needs to solve its culture crisis. We'll never get what we celebrate if we don't celebrate it. I said, Dr. Murphy, I'm going to build an organization. And as you all know, I give homework. I said, Dr. Murphy, you're going to help me. But we're going to build an organization that will put scientists and engineers and teachers in front of kids, that will inspire those kids to do something important with their lives. If we don't do that, who will we blame when we have a culture that fails to live up to our future needs and expectations? I called the thing first for inspiration and recognition of science and technology. Because I thought more than anything else, what we need to do is inspire kids and put before them world-class people from the world of science, technology, education. It's not a coincidence that this leaderless flock has an incredible flock. John Abley's being very modest, but he's also one of the great thinkers and great communicators. And Bill Murphy. And in fact, if you look at the history of FIRST, the one thing that stands out is I have collected the most awesome group of people from the world of science and technology and education that's ever been convened. It was very clear very early on that Woody, besides being the great teacher, you've heard various versions of that from his former students. But to me, as you're painfully experiencing now, I'm not a great communicator. I can't read and talk at the same time. I can't use But very early on, in the very first year, I asked Woody to make sure at that kickoff that people understood the big picture, why we're doing this. It's not about the robots. And Woody got up, and he was giving a review of the first kit we made. And he told me, Dean, I think you're overestimating what some of the mentors are capable of. I get students in a world-class school that have never really handled wrenches. And he got up, and the first thing he put up was a picture, and you may remember this, of an axle going through a structure. And the caption comes up, "Set screws suck." And he gave this very short course on what not to do if you're trying to build a robot in a hurry. But I watched him communicate with kids, with the mentors, with the parents, with our corporate sponsors. And he is a superstar at communicating. And each year, I would ask him to do more of that because I suck at it. And each year, no matter what it was, Woody, you got to go out at the opening. Woody, you got to do this. Woody, you have to do the show. Woody, I could always count on Woody to give an incredibly inspiring talk because he is a fantastic communicator. So obviously, as you heard Dr. Murphy say, it wasn't hard to realized that we should be recognizing not only all the teachers, but we should be recognizing Woody right in the title of that award, the Woodie Flowers Award. I'm not very spiritual or religious, I guess, but I do find certain coincidences too coincidental. In the late 80s, when I was putting FIRST together and recognized that the whole thing, remember our name is for inspiration and recognition of science and technology, there was another teacher, a woman named Krista McAuliffe, a teacher here in New Hampshire, that was selected to be the first woman, first citizen, first teacher to go into space. She went down to Florida. My parents went. My dad was asked by the governor then to go and collect sketches so that she could be properly recognized and celebrated when she came back. She got on the Challenger, never got off. I asked my dad instead to make artwork of her and went to Washington with it and said, we need a teacher on a commemorative coin. This is a woman, a teacher, a hero. Let's do it. We tried in 1990. We tried in 2000. I never give up. By last year, the reach of FIRST was so extensive that we're pretty much, well, we're in every state, but we're in every congressional district. And we went back to Washington. It wasn't the kindler, gentler dean. I said, it's time. In the history of the United States, you've made 41 commemorative coins. 37 of them have men on them. One doesn't count, that's Lady Liberty. I said, it's time to put a great teacher out there. And earlier this year, it passed the Senate unanimously, it passed the House, it was signed into law, and next year there will be a commemorative coin with Krista McAuliffe on it, all proceeds going to FIRST. But Margaret, we wouldn't have gotten there if FIRST didn't have the broad reach and support. And I don't think we would have gotten them to put an educator, a teacher on there if they didn't recognize the importance. So I will remember, and the world's going to remember, and I will make sure you get one of those FIRST coins. But the world will remember that 2019 was the year of the teacher. Everybody said so many good things. If I tried to repeat, I'd do a crummy job and it would be redundant. But it wouldn't be me without homework. I haven't fully formulated the homework yet, but it'll be two things. Margaret, you can't fill his shoes. Nobody can, but you can wear his shirt. And your homework is to continue to come to our events, to continue to wear his shirt, and to continue to give kids the opportunity to sign it, because we all need that. And yes, it's homework. And by the way, the day or two after Woody passed, I got a call from another one of his great, brilliant students who worked at DECA for many years, Bill Larkins. And he said, Dean, I heard the news. I said, yeah. And there was a pause, and he said something, and I said, like, how are you doing? And I said, actually, Bill, I feel guilty. Dean, why do you feel guilty? I said, because my first reaction is, I could always depend on Woody to do what he's unrivaled and fantastic at communicating and what I'm terrible at. And I said, Bill, I feel guilty because my first thought was, I'm not done with Woody yet. We need Woody. He didn't ask permission to do this, and I'm not done. I felt the same way about my brother. But Bill said, Dean, don't feel guilty about that. That's a high compliment. So I felt better about that. But you have your homework. I expect to see you. And to everybody else, I think the homework has already been made pretty clear. I don't know which religion it is. They all have some version of this, but it's a phrase that probably is there to comfort people, but I think it's probably accurate, which is nobody ever really has passed as long as somebody remembers who they are and what they did. And I don't think you have to be spiritual to believe that. I mean, because what are you? Our skin and bones, your body's just a machine to carry your head around. Your head's just a machine to carry your brain, your I/O structure, your eyes, ears, mouth. Your brain is just a thing that puts your ideas out there. But in the end, all that other stuff goes away, but your ideas stay. I mean, our symbol, the circle, the triangle, the square, is derived from Archimedes. We still call it Archimedes' principle. He's been physically gone for 2,200 years. But his ideas will be with us a long time. Well, if it's true that you're around until the last person that knows you is gone, Woody's going to be around for a long, long, long time. And since he's known in many ways for his gracious professionalism, and he's the guy that said, you better act in a way that would make your grandmother proud. And as my mother, the official grandmother, has said, that's me. She might share that with you. But I think the homework to the whole First community has got to be not to sit one afternoon in one place and take a snapshot of a man, but our homework is to make sure that the idea that we always act in a way that enhances the ideas of gracious professionalism, that we act in a way that will advance our vision of the world. Maybe not quite as articulately as Woody, but if we live with an ongoing commitment to the homework of expanding the scope and vision of First, I think the world will be a better place. Woody will be part of it forever. I'm done.
If you compete such that if your grandmother saw everything that you did on a national television program, she would be very proud, then that'll be okay. Let's start by talking about fun. You will have fun. It will be quite intense fun, and it will mount and become joy. Joy will happen when your team says thank you, when your robot actually works. And as joy builds, before long you'll experience some happiness. And happiness is really nice, it's a big deal. Your family will see you laugh. They'll also see you grimace some because of this hard fun stuff, but it's really good. That builds and finally starts to become satisfaction. Now, satisfaction is really good stuff. We humans love that feeling. It's a big deal, but an even bigger deal is having a meaningful life. So getting a meaningful life is really up at the top in the hierarchy of good stuff. It means you feel needed and loved. You might even find some contentment. Think of FIRST as a catalyst in a chain reaction. Each collision releases human potential, which feeds an exponential expansion of additional human potential. FIRST students seed this opportunity explosion by being informed, being creative, and thinking hard, all three, all the time. FIRST students mix objective truth and human warmth. They can be wise and be rational. They use both sides of their brain. They are our future. This is a celebration. This is good stuff.
Thanks to Woody, we have gathered together as an amazing community in New Hampshire and around the world. Thank you for joining us. For those here in New Hampshire, please join us for a reception in the lobby. And in the lobby, you'll find tables with index cards that Megan and Z mentioned. We hope you will share your wisdoms and lessons learned from Woody. For those online, we hope you will continue with your own gatherings and carry on this celebration and remembrance of Woody's life. Please share your wisdoms and learnings at #WoodieFlowers. Thank you.